What's up, guys? So, this topic of social media and gay men and how gay men interact and behave on social media, it's obviously a huge topic. And, with these kinds of videos, I always want to avoid sweeping generalizations. In every group, in every kind of community, or, if we're talking about women, if we're talking about straight men, if we're talking about black people, white people, Asian, but every community, you're going to find individuals on social media who use it just for fun or to stay in touch with whoever. And you're also going to find people who are self-absorbed or who are toxic on social media. So it's kind of a difficult topic to approach because I even know gay men who just don't use social media at all, which I think is probably the healthiest approach. I really only got into social media because I happen to work in social media behind the scenes. So that's what kind of increased my interest. And then I did realize the benefits of it, that you can stay in touch with. It's a good way to keep tabs on your close friends and feel still connected, even if you're no longer living in the same city, let's say, or the same state even, or the same country. It's also just a fun little distraction. But I tend to see with gay men, more than any other group of people, an unhealthy use of social media. And I think there's two types. I think one type is the self-absorbed, narcissistic use. And I think the other use is just toxic. With the narcissistic use, what I mean is, for example, I'll be on Tinder or Bumble or these kinds of apps, and I swipe through, and sometimes I'll see a profile where I actually am interested. I like how the guy presents himself in his pictures, his description is nice, his bio, and then I'll see that his Instagram is connected, and every single picture is of him, every single one. And a lot of them are, shirtless pictures, showing off, or at the beach, constantly at the beach, and it is such a turn off for me. I'm immediately pass, swipe left, because that to me tells me that person is looking for validation from likes and comments. And the reality is, somebody who's truly confident doesn't feel the need to constantly put up pictures of themselves on any social media platform. I mean, even me, I have this channel, I have my music channel on YouTube. So I put up clips of me covering new songs and stuff to hopefully get people to come check out that video that week, that new video on my music channel. And even that, I am always I feel like there's too many clips of me and pictures of me on my account, on my Instagram, which is why then I always try to add in other random things like travel pictures, food pictures. It's also just because I want to show people what I'm up to, and friends, show them where I'm traveling to and stuff like that. But it's so weird to me that people don't have that kind of self-awareness, that it comes off very, very self-absorbed to just have everything about you, or people who post every living, waking moment of their life on social media. And this is something that I see the most with gay men. Any psychologist, though, will tell you that narcissism comes from a deep place of insecurity. And I think that's what all this goes back to anyway. So recently I had a few experiences that actually inspired me wanting to create this video. And in the past few months, I've interacted with 4 different guys, gay men, all of them, who really took it to heart that somebody was unfollowing them. And in 3 out of those 4 cases, it was me unfollowing them. The first one is a friend who told me that some random guys unfollowed him on Instagram. And he was like, aren't they so weird? Aren't they so strange? And I was like, no, I mean, when's the last time you spoke to them? And he was like, oh, I haven't spoken to them in 6 or 8 months. And I was like, how do you even know that they unfollowed you? Because I don't even know half the time. I typically find out when I unfollow somebody, and I'll see that they actually hadn't been following me for a while. Otherwise, I'm never searching on Instagram, does this person still follow me? So I asked him, and he said, oh, I have an app that tells me who unfollowed me. And I thought this was so weird, because he's not an influencer, it's not his business, social media. So was like, you keep track of who unfollows you, even though you only have like, I don't know, probably 300 or 400. Like, who cares? Who cares? I don't care at all. And I actually have 2 YouTube channels that I do see as a business and that I do make money from. So if I don't care, why do you care? And when he told me they hadn't spoken to him in months, I was like, so basically these people aren't in your life at all, but you're upset that they aren't invested in your personal life. And he just like wouldn't get it. He refused to wrap his head around it. So that was the first time I found out there were even these apps where you could keep track of who's unfollowing you and who's paying attention to what's going on in your life. And with now having moved to Miami, it's a new chapter, and every time I start a new chapter, I did the same thing when I moved to LA. Every time I start a new chapter, for me it's like a clean slate, and so I try to, take out the trash in every sense. I get rid of certain things that I'm like, I'm not gonna need this anymore. You buy new things for your apartment, and for me, part of that is also in my personal life, like doing a cleansing, like, what do I want to change? When I moved to Miami, one of the first things I did was I stopped following a bunch of people on social media who just haven't been a part of my life for a while, and they'll stay in touch through social media. I see them watching my stories, I'll watch theirs, maybe we'll comment occasionally, but they're people who, at this stage of my life, I feel like we're in different places and they have different values, and in some cases, they're also people who I find to be kind of just toxic. So I was like, this is time to move on. And in the past month or two, there are 3 guys, they're all gay men, 3 guys specifically who I unfollowed, who unfollowed me back within, I would say, 48 hours. And like I said, I don't seek out that information. I'm not like, oh, who's following me, who's not following me. But it became very obvious with those 3 guys. The first 2 because they would watch every single story that I had, and suddenly that stopped after I unfollowed them. So then I realized that they had unfollowed me as well. And the third person I found out because he messaged me to tell me, well, I'm unfollowing you right back then. And it's so funny because it really goes to show, like, you should trust your instincts. I unfollowed these 3 people because they just weren't really a part of my life anymore. And it's so weird to me that, like, you would watch all of my content and be attentive to that online, but I haven't heard from you in over 6 months. Even though some of those guys, we were living in the same city back in Los Angeles. So once I moved to Miami, I'm like, I'm probably never going to see these people again if they weren't even making an effort when I was in their same city. So for all 3 of these guys, these gay men, to know that I unfollowed them within 48 hours, I'm assuming they had that same app as my friend. Again, none of these guys are influencers. None of them even work in social media. And to me, it's just so pathetic to think that matters to you so much, to keep track of the number on your profile of how many people are supposedly interested or committed to your content. Like, it's so silly to me. And it really showed me I made the right decision, kind of virtually removing these people from my life, I guess. Like, they already weren't really a part of my life anymore, but now in the digital world, that was like the last sort of step, I guess, to start fresh. So I honestly feel like I made the right decision to, virtually remove myself from these people, because that's not the kind of person I want to be around. I don't want to be around people who are that sort of desperate for validation. Now, the third person, the fact that he felt the need to message me, to DM me, to say, well, I'm unfollowing you right back. I was like, this is exactly why I unfollowed you. Like, I don't want that kind of friendship. I don't want that kind of like vibe around me. That is an energy of desperation and like seeking validation and being really, really insecure. And we all have our insecurities, we all have our own issues, but to me, that's just excessive. And speaking of toxicity, I mean, I get comments on this channel all the time that are strangely aggressive, strangely derogatory, and it really is nuts behind a screen, behind an anonymous profile, how people feel so bold to just say whatever, not realize that there's a human being on the other end too. You know, like I have feelings like anybody else. But you know, there is that saying, hurt people, right? Like people who are going through their own thing tend to lash out at other people. But it's kind of sick that social media, in a sense, has given people like this an extra drug, you know, an extra source to feed that like demon inside of them. As always, curious to hear what you guys think.